Hey everybody, it's Shaka with Midlands Military Home Hub. Today we are talking about something homeowners that may have had some issues in the past find themselves having success in the future when they pick this up. Today we're talking about home warranties. And to tell us basically everything that we need to know about home warranties today, we have Emily McMullen. She is with Armadillo Home Warranties, and she's going to let us know what's going on with home warranties and how they work. But Emily, if you it's best for you to introduce yourself. I did a short one, but tell us who you are and everything we need to know.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I am Emily McMullen. I am the South Carolina representative with Armadillo Home Warranty. And we're actually a newer home warranty provider. We've been around for a few years now. And I really love being a part of Armadillo because we are taking a really useful service and finding all of the pain points that were there in the past and trying to eliminate any of those entirely so that we bring you an even more useful and functional service that's really helpful when you move.
Okay, good. And then I will tell you the things that I've heard of. One of the most popular things I've heard of is like American Home Shield. There's a couple other ones that kind of come up here and there. But we end up there's different reviews on those things. So just to be clear with everybody looking at this, for someone who's never heard of it before, what exactly is a home warranty and how is it different from homeowners insurance? Because somebody might think the two are the same.
Sure, yeah, that's the question that I get asked the most often, and I think it's very fair because there are states in which a home warranty is required, just like home insurance, but there are other areas where a lot of people have never heard of a home warranty. So, if you're not familiar, a home warranty is kind of similar to home insurance because it works in the same way where you file claims and we're able to help cover the costs. However, we cover different things. So, home insurance is going to cover external damages like fire, flood, a break in, things like that. But what they're not going to cover is breakdowns that occur naturally over time in your home. So, examples would be your oven stops heating, your water heater starts leaking, you have electrical issues that just come from breakdowns over time. Those are the kinds of things that a home warranty protects you against. And I'll go a little bit more in depth of everything that's covered, but that is the main difference. And I would say another important difference between a home warranty and home insurance, and one that I'm sure people would be happy to hear, is that a home warranty is the cost is not dependent on the age of your home or the size. It's not dependent on what appliances you have or whether you filed a claim before. So we have a few preset plan options and some add-on coverages, and you can choose the price point and the coverage that makes the most sense for you. That price is not going to go up if you've had to file claims in the past, and that includes if you renew coverage with us. Your coverage is not going to go up if you have to file a claim, so that's a big bonus difference between insurance and warranty.
Okay, yeah, I mean, and I'm sure you'll get into it. So I have a question on my mind. I'm actually going to write it down while you answer the next one so that I can not forget it. But my next question is, what are the main things a home warranty typically covers in a home?
Yeah, so when we talk about those appliances and systems in the home, those are the two main categories. So the systems we're looking at are heating, cooling, electrical, plumbing, and water heater. And then the appliances are pretty much all the main ones you'd think of. Your oven and range, your refrigerator, your dishwasher, your washer and dryer. If you have a built-in microwave, that's included as well. And we cover a few other more miscellaneous items as well, like your ceiling fans, garage door openers, garbage disposal, etc. And then we do have some add-on options as well. So like if you have two refrigerators, I know a lot of people have like a garage refrigerator or a standalone freezer. We can cover those kinds of things as well. And you'll notice that these things are pretty much all inside the home. We do, however, have some add-on coverage that can be used for things outside the home on the property. So things like sprinkler systems, septic system, well pump, and some limited roof leak coverage as well. There are add-ons for things like that too.
Okay. And I think most of the time people have a good understanding that the inside things that are like major appliances is what it would cover. So the lifetime of it is, I guess, a different question. But when you were talking about the first question, I was thinking because when these guys come to my house on a regular basis, I have a service that comes to my house and does electrical inspections on a periodic basis. And they always recommend, I know it's an upsell, I know it is, but they always recommend to me that I should get a whole home surge protector. And the price that they quoted me for, if I'm being honest, Emily, the price that they quoted me for is outrageous because I went and looked the part up and I found out that, really it's the warranty and the person being able to approach the electrical system correctly. But my question is there anything that is not typically installed on a house, let's say a surge protector, that will be required in order for this warranty to actually work? Because I wouldn't want anybody to be misunderstanding what's required. Because let's say there's a power surge in the neighborhood and that takes out one of your appliances. It wouldn't be great to get on the other end and like call up the home warranty company and say, "Hey, I need to replace this." And they say, "Well, did you have a whole home surge protector?" What's your
Yeah.
insight on that?
Sure. Yeah, and I think that also kind of comes from a place of working with like home insurance. You know, a lot of times there's, okay, well, did you do this? Do you have this? That kind of thing. We have a little bit of that in place, but not nearly to the same degree. So it's not going to be specific things like that. I think the most important thing to note is that your systems and appliances do need to be in working condition when you purchase the warranty. So if you're a buyer, that would be, when you move in. If you're an existing homeowner and you want to get coverage, it would be at the time you purchase the policy. Because, we wouldn't want someone to say, "Oh my gosh, my refrigerator broke. Now let me get the warranty and get them to cover it," right?
Right, right.
So that is really the main thing that we look at. But as long as your systems are maintained, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have somebody coming out every year like that to take a look at them, but they're reasonably maintained and not completely broken down, and they're performing their functions, even if they're old, that is okay.
Okay.
I would say the most common unexpected issue we do run into is with HVAC systems. So often, if we are running into an issue, is that the HVAC system is older, and when it breaks down, it requires other parts to be replaced so that it is up to code, or so that the new parts and the old parts are functioning cohesively. And if those additional parts were not actually broken, but they just need to be replaced to get everything to work together, then we're not always able to cover those additional parts because they weren't actually the parts that broke. So the one thing I recommend is, if you do have an older HVAC system, we do have an add-on to our coverage. It's called HVAC compatibility, and it provides extra coverage for those parts that are not necessarily broken but do need to be replaced in the event that you have an older system that needs to integrate with newer parts. But I think that's pretty much the only thing that comes to mind.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought, as a homeowner myself, those type of things, it kind of makes me weary when I'm talking to somebody about a service. Like, I want to make sure people are they're understanding what your field is, and how the home warranties really work, and it's not just a kind of gimmick. Because a lot of people will tell you they feel like insurance is, it's
I
a
get it.
I don't want to say the S word, and it ends with an M, but that's what they a lot of times feel like it is. So, okay, thank you for doing a segue on that. But my next question is, why would a new homeowner, especially someone relocating, like a PCS and military family, consider getting a home warranty?
Yeah, I think that this is a really good question, and the answer is something that you might not necessarily expect, and it's something that I wouldn't have really been aware of until I started in this field and until I became a military spouse, because I am a military spouse myself. So I've been through a couple of PCS moves already. And the thing is that you are much more likely to experience these kinds of breakdowns in your first year of moving into a new home. So, and there was actually a competitor of ours, I won't say which one, but another provider in the industry who did a survey in 2024 that found that I believe it was 96% of homeowners experienced a breakdown in their home within the first year of moving in. And the reason for that is because your usage patterns are different. Or it could be because there was a lapse in, if the previous owner turned off the electricity and it was a little while before you turned it back on again. When those kinds of things happen, it creates a strain on your systems that you might not even expect. I mean, it could be that you're using them less than the last
Mm,
owner, but that can cause a strain as well. And when that happens, you're going to have those breakdowns. One of the more common ones we see is the water heater and that electrical system as well. So, if you're more likely to experience those breakdowns in the first year of owning your home, and you're someone who is moving, especially every 3 or 4 years, like we
hmm.
are in the military, you are a lot more likely to experience those breakdowns.
Yeah.
So, a home warranty would be especially beneficial to you. And it's not just for your first year when you move in. You can extend your coverage for as long as you'd like. You can also purchase a warranty at any time when you're a current homeowner. But that's definitely the most beneficial is when you first moved in.
Cool. I never really thought about like a sequential, like when a house has the power off. I never really, I mean, I'm not an electrician either, but somebody else might be looking at this and saying, duh, Shaka, that's common sense. But I just think that it's a really easy mistake to make, to have a bunch of stuff on in the house because you went through and somebody might have said, "Oh, I forgot the power is off," because they went through and turned all these lights on, and then when you go to turn on the main breaker, that's all the electricity going to everything at one time. So I completely didn't even consider that at all. But that's wow, that would be a tragic that'd be a tragic situation right there, to just move into a
Yeah,
house and just instantly cause a problem like that. Yeah,
yeah. Well, and I mean, when you're dealing with all of those other move in things, everything that you have to think about when you move in general, but especially speaking from experience with a military PCS, there are a million things you have to think about, especially because you're often moving state to state or you've never even been to that location before. You have to figure out insurance things, you have to figure out schools, you have to figure out well, everything that comes with owning a home, especially if it's for the first time. There's just so much other stuff going on. And so having a breakdown added to that, I know can be really stressful. So that's something that we really hope to be able to alleviate.
Yeah, and I think we've settled most of the misconceptions at this point. And if you think of something else in the end, there's a part where I ask you at the end, anyways. But so we got all the misconceptions out of the way. We know the difference between homeowners insurance and a home warranty. What does the process actually look like if something breaks in the home? Like, and should a homeowner like give us a step by step, just in general, because I know some case by case, but a general step by step understanding of how we activate our home warranty that we have been dependent on using and never wanting to use.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you are a buyer getting a home warranty, then that warranty will become active on your closing date. So once you move in, let's say it's been a couple weeks and something happens with your water heater, um, you can't. I know, right? No, we don't want to hear that. Knock on wood. But let's say it's been a couple weeks and your water heater starts leaking. Oh no, this isn't good. But you'll want to go ahead and start your claim with us as soon as you can. And you can do it two ways. You can either do it on our website, which is very user friendly, um, or you can call our claims number and do it over the phone. And I'll go a little bit more in depth with that in just a moment. But um, short version is when you start your claim, you have two more options. And this is really great because it's something that a lot of home warranty companies do not offer. You can either request that we send out a technician, and that works pretty much how you would expect it to. You know, we would schedule with the tech, have them come out, diagnose, do the repair, we would pay them. Or you can work with your own technician
That's
and you can
huge.
file your claim. It is, yes. And you can file your claim concurrently, and you would work with them as if we weren't part of it at all. You know, you'd call them out and schedule with them. You would get the invoices, diagnosis, you would pay them, and you would upload all of those documents to us.
Mm,
And we would be able to process those invoices and estimates and everything in order to reimburse you. So it's a great option and it is big, like you said, because if you have an emergency, like something that's leaking, and you need to get somebody out there same day, that's not something that we're always able to do.
right.
So you can go ahead and have them start the work and start your claim, and you're not having to wait for any review to happen. On the flip side, if you just want to be hands off, you know, you're like, I don't want to deal with calling anybody, I don't want to deal with paying anybody, then having us send somebody out is a great option as well. Um, Another thing that I would note is that we can cover both repairs and replacements. So if the technician comes out and says, hey, we're going to have to replace this unit entirely, then what we would do is find the most comparable unit on the market today, and we would send that amount directly to you as the homeowner so that you could put it toward that comparable unit, or you could put it toward a different unit of your choosing. So we would send you a link. Let's say it's an oven that you can buy directly at your local Home Depot or Lowe's.
Mhm.
You can go there and purchase that one, or you can buy a more expensive one and just pay the rest out of pocket. And if you actually choose to upgrade to a more energy efficient appliance like Energy Star, tankless water heater, things like that, we have a green incentive program it's free, it's included in all of our plans, and it provides an additional up to $1,000 toward upgrading to a green system.
Wow.
And that, like I said, that's available with all of our plans, so you don't have to apply anything additional for that. You would just provide us with the receipt after purchasing it so that we
Yeah.
could provide those additional funds.
Wow. I mean, the I said that's huge because when you got to work with a specific one company or maybe two companies, now you are in competition with everybody else who's waiting on that technician. Let's be honest, the technician is not going to be in a good mood because they are running from one thing to the other, and they're going to get to your house and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, you were supposed to be here for an hour ago. And they're like, I heard that 8 times today, so I'm doing my best. And, it's just not going to be a good situation for a lot of people. So that's really good. That's good. Um, so I don't think anybody else would have any more questions about the process in and of itself. So, what's one thing you wish every homeowner, whether it be a new or a repeat homeowner, knew about home warranties before they moved into the house? Because I know we know what it does when we're in it, but what what could they know? I mean, you mentioned that they the day they close on the house, or that's correct, right? The day they close, and that's when it activates. But what should they know before, if anything?
Yeah, well, I think when it comes to the actual real estate transaction process, I think a lot of people aren't aware of just what a great return on investment a home warranty really can be. Um, and that's if you're purchasing it for yourself. So let's say you're a buyer, you say, hey, I really want a home warranty. I'm directly going to reach out to Armadillo. I'm ordering my plan and it's going to be paid for at closing and we're not going to have to worry about it. Great. Um, Even if you're buying it for yourself, it is one of the smallest closing costs you'll see on the contract. It's just a few $100s. Our plans, of course, they range. We have 6 different options for buyers. But the most expensive plan is $790 per year. That's the most expensive. So this is one of the smallest items you're going to see in terms of closing costs. And the reality is that at that price point, you're likely to make your money back in just 1 or 2 claims, because appliances and systems nowadays, it costs generally a lot more than that to repair and replace things now. And, if you're someone who's moving a lot, you're more likely to file a claim, you're more likely to make that money back really quickly. You could even argue that if you're paying $700 for a warranty when you move in and we're able to cover $3,000 in repairs for you later that year, you've made $2,300 that year.
Mm. I, I'm gonna. I that's good, and I have to. I promise it's not too much of a curveball, but I just have to clarify. Correct me if I'm wrong. So we move around, and I think everybody's familiar with renter's insurance. So homeowner's insurance protects the structure. That's the house. Renter's insurance, or personal property liability, which is kind of same and same, protects your stuff like your computer, your jewelry, your all that kind of stuff in the house. Then you have your home warranty, which then covers all of the appliances, the things that work inside the house. I'm on track, right? Okay. I don't know if there's any other coverage, to have other than life insurance, but most military folks already have that. But I think everybody's like, oh, I got to pay all these different things. Now, if I leave this house that I got the home warranty for, does my contribution go with me to the next place?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So, and I'm actually kind of thinking back to something you had asked me before about whether it goes on to the next buyer as well.
Okay.
So, and it's something I actually was going to touch on in just a moment because I wanted to talk a little bit about how a home warranty can affect home sellers.
Let's do it.
So, if you are moving and you have the home warranty coverage, essentially the coverage goes with the home. So
Great.
that coverage is going to transfer to the new buyer. Um, when you move into a new home, you are going to need to get a new plan. But um, one thing I always really like to point out, and something else that I think people don't know beforehand, is that a home warranty is a great thing to offer as a seller. So before, when I mentioned, even if you're buying it for yourself, that's because a lot of times you can get the seller to pay for the home warranty for you. And if you're a seller, I do think that's a great idea because it is a really low cost way to make a big difference for your buyers. I mean,
Yeah.
let's say you have an older furnace and your prospective buyers say, hey, this furnace is kind of old. We want you to replace it before we are ready to move forward. That could be several $1,000s to replace that furnace. Or you could purchase them a home warranty for a few $100s. And if something does happen with that furnace, then we would be the ones to cover those costs,
Hmm.
as opposed to you having to buy the new furnace yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles in getting to the closing table a lot of times is older appliances and older systems and the concerns people have with those.
Yeah.
So, very low cost item, very big impact in
Yeah.
terms of resolving those issues and getting you to close.
I definitely would be if I was at the table and I'm like, all right, well, I like the neighborhood, I like the house, but I'm not so sure about that refrigerator that I saw in there. It looked like it might be a little old. And then the person was like, well, it's funny you mentioned that. Everything in the house is covered with a home warranty that transfers with you when you buy the house. I think that's a major item at that point, like for me to consider. So 100%. So it takes care of you while you're in the home, and then it takes care of you when you're ready to sell it. That's great.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes. Well, and I'll tell you what else. Another bonus for sellers is that while the home is on the market, let's say you don't already have warranty coverage, when you go to list the home, you can get listing coverage for free. And
Mm,
because it's free, it's a more limited plan. It just covers those major home systems. We talked about heating, cooling, electric, plumbing, water heater, and it covers up to $1,500 total. If while the home is on the market, if one of those things experiences an issue, you can file a claim with us like normal. And the only costs associated would be you would pay the same $100 service fee that we have for all of our claims. So that's something else important I didn't mention before. But you'd pay that same $100 service fee and any costs that go over that $1,500 limit. But you would not be required to purchase a plan for the buyer just because you used the seller's coverage. Um, Nothing like that. It's just a great way for agents and sellers to see what it's like to work with us. And then if you actually have to use it, then that's just a bonus for you.
good. I mean, I've learned something today, as I told you before we started this. I'm a little green on knowing about home warranties myself. Even it's kind of embarrassing actually at this point, but it's okay.
That's okay.
I'd rather be a little transparent, but as long as we all learn at the same time, right? That's the big thing. So I think we covered a lot. Is there anything we didn't hit that you want to at this point?
um, I would say that I think the only thing we didn't talk a whole lot about is, you had mentioned before companies you've heard of in the past, and at the beginning, I kind of mentioned, hey, how are we doing it even better? Um, Home warranties are a great service, but especially working with Armadillo is a great idea. And I might be biased, but I can back that up as well and say that, being able to use your contractor is a huge deal that most providers do not offer. And that goes for not only emergencies, but if you live in a really rural area where there aren't a lot of technicians out there, or if it's a busy season for
Yeah.
contractors. The other thing is, as a smaller company, we are just able to offer a more personal service. So, when you do work with those larger companies, the ones that have been around for a long time, And this goes for any industry, really. When you work with those larger companies and you have an issue and you give them a call, there's a certain policy that they follow, there's a certain script that they read off,
Yep.
and that's just because they're so large that that's kind of how they have to do it. As a smaller company, we can give you a much more personal touch. If you have an unusual issue, you can always reach out to us and we can say, oh, yeah, actually, that's weird. Let's see how we can work on that. We can be
Mm.
more flexible. And as a local area rep, I'm a sales rep, so I primarily work with real estate agents and other people in real estate transactions.
Right.
But if you have claims questions, if you have issues, I am someone that you can call if you have questions or if you're not sure who to get in touch with. And our claims team is wonderful too. They're not just a call center, they are all our actual claims team members. So,
Okay. Cool. Well, if y'all didn't learn anything, I'm sorry for you because I did. So this video shooting it was also more. This is probably the most beneficial one that I've done for me personally so far because I got more than actually the viewers actually got because we talked a little bit before we started. So thank you, Emily, so much. And if any of y'all are interested in reaching out to Emily, all you have to do is go over to midlandsmilitaryhomehub.com. There's a tab for home service partners. If you click that tab and scroll down, you'll see her contact information. The link is going to take you directly to Emily's mini site for this area. I wouldn't say that she would be opposed to answering your questions if you're not from here, right? Is that correct?
yeah,
If
yeah,
you're
of
not,
course. I actually we cover all 50 states,
okay.
and I am actually also the area rep for Washington State, since that's where I previously PCS'd from. But if you're in any other state, I'm happy to answer your questions. I'm happy to help get you set up as well. And we have some other wonderful area reps, but I'm always happy to help.
Yeah, and then they get with you, they get the best of both worlds. They get somebody who can talk about it and somebody who's also a military spouse at the same time. It's
Yes,
wonderful. It's great.
yes.
So we covered a lot, and if you were watching this, there's other videos that cover other things. We'll most likely have Emily back for probably a little more detailed conversation about certain things. We'll see how that works. But for now, this episode was talking to you guys about home warranties, and there's no way possible you could leave from this not knowing more than you knew before you started if you lasted this whole time. So thank you for watching. Keep an eye out. There's definitely more videos to come. Thank you very much. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you.